The latest project surrounding the dinosaurs was going very well. The new safari park's first written previews in magazines and online blogs were talking about a potential great experience to see the dinosaurs up close and personal. It would still take a long time to finish, and some people were questioning how they would handle larger predators, as one could only imagine what they would do to a little car. But for the next part, they would still resort to herbivores, this time of the smaller variety. This would be the runner's pen, including flocks of gallimimus and co-species where they could freely run around the open terrain. To hint at their playful character, the road here would be made into a spiral pattern as well. The amount of thick forestry in this area would be downscaled to a minimum to give the animals plenty of space to run around. As the sun set, it became clear to some scientists and park rangers that more could be done with the park. With regular zoos, it was sometimes common to have certain animals be viewed during night times as well. A special night zoo, so to speak. Many believe this could also be done with the safari park, a night safari. Though some dinosaurs might be sleeping at that time, there were others who were more active during the night. It would give visitors the opportunity to see some of the dinosaurs in more rare occasions and see what they would be up to at this hour. Lights were installed around the entire safari route to illuminate the road for future visitors. Then in the early morning, the first of the runners were flown in. They began with the Struthiomimus, the smallest of the three species that would be housed here. The good thing about these species were that they were very easy to please. As long as they had the company of their own, or others that were similar, they could thrive almost anywhere and in any environment. It made them therefore easy to intermix with other pens as well, but to have one specifically dedicated to this type of dinosaur would work more effectively and at the same time showcase the difference in size, coloring, and behavior amongst these three species. Five Struthiomimus had been transported to this location, and next up were the Gallimimus, the biggest of the three. Only 4 of these would be flown in, but that would be more than enough, as they could also intermingle with their smaller species, as they did not differ all that much. The Gallimimus were also easy to please, as long as they had space to run, and some had already acclimated to their new home, as they felt comfortable sleeping on the road that had been heated by the sun, as more dinosaurs were being flown in. The final of the 3 species was the Archaeornithomimus. Its color scheme was a little bit more flamboyant, with the shape of its head resembling more of a Struthiomimus. This was the interspecies of the 3 that on first glance could be mistaken for one or the other. By having these 3 different types in one pen, their difference could be well seen. As the last of the dinosaurs were flown in, plans were already made for the next dinosaurs. The area in between the 3 safari zones was closed with fencing, and everyone agreed that a larger carnivore would need to be put here, as the openness of the runner zone would give a good view of this area housing a more dangerous beast. As people discussed what creature would be best suited for this, the rangers went on their usual trip again to see if the new zone catered to the visitors' needs of having a clear view of the dinosaurs. Though it was pretty clear from the get-go that the view would be good, since there was barely any trees, it was noticeable how most of the dinosaurs stayed at one side of the zone. Because of this, new feeders were put on the other side as well to lure them across the entire area. The first larger carnivore that was put in next to the runner zone would be the Carnotaurus. Since many agree that its enclosure was too small for something like a Tyrannosaurus or a Spinosaurus, it was decided to have a smaller type be the first in sight. They also agreed that it was too early at this stage to showcase some of their main attractions that would be better suited later down the route. But though there was a good view from the perspective of the runner zone, the carnivore sometimes headed into the trees and hid from plain sight. Because the carnivore felt comfortable having another one of its species be close by, it was decided to put another one in there. With 2 carnivores on display, the visitors had always a guarantee of getting a good glimpse of the large predator. During the night, they also made quite the scary impression as their howling silhouettes marched over the plains. For the next zone along the safari route, a similar system would be implemented. The area was cut in two, with the road arching along a separate pen that would hold another carnivore species of the larger variety. On the other side, they would have herbivores. But after seeing the success of having smaller carnivores intermixed with larger herbivores, a repeat was requested. Over the past few weeks, never before seen dinosaurs have been spotted around the island. One of these was supposed to be more active during the night, making them perfect for promoting the night safari. It was the little Troodon. These tiny critters were brought over in a large amount and spread out over the area. They were a feast to behold, as their jittery behavior scurried them all over. Their big round eyes reflected in the moonlight, and they were indeed more active during night hours. A remark was given that these animals hunted using poison, and thus it was necessary to put signs again to keep doors and windows closed. Due to their small size, they were difficult to spot in the tall grass. They were very social creatures, and everyone seemed to get along. But with all the reports piling up, one particular report was ignored about the origins of this creature, as it was never on any list to make back during the time of the theme park. It got buried beneath all the other reports without anyone asking questions, which is something that could have avoided many a disaster to come. With the Troodons in place, it was time to mix them with larger herbivores to always assure visitors to get a glimpse of at least a dinosaur. The Troodons were very curious when they saw their big brethren being flown over, but for the moment, they seemed very accepting of them. As the Troodons were carnivores, it was made sure that they would have enough to eat and not attack one of their fellow inmates. 2 livestock feeders were placed, and 1 regular carnivore feeder was provided to ensure they would not grow hungry. But it did not take long before rangers raised the alarms, as some of the larger dinosaurs seemed panicked. They were not seen fighting with the Troodon, but footage from security cameras showcased some of the little critters to bite them in the leg. They were found dead hours later. As the final scheduled dinosaurs, the Maiasaurus, were added, a priority meeting was held on what to do with the Troodon. The rangers went in for a final test trial today to see how the safari route was done as a whole during nighttime. The lights implemented in the roads worked their magic. It was a pleasant atmosphere without being too bright to scare away or irritate the animals. You could of course not admire the dinosaurs' bright colors, but nevertheless it was very different and noteworthy from a day visit. In the second zone, it was indeed, as predicted, difficult to get a hold of one of the Dilophosaurus. If they were spotted, chances were high that they would scatter before a good picture could be taken. Nevertheless, having a bunch of them in there did make the difference of increasing the chance of spotting them. In the runner zone, it was noted that though the creatures were now spread out, drivers needed to be careful if the dinosaurs ran across the road. They would be forced to drive slowly to avoid collisions. The zone still provided great photo opportunities for the carnivore nearby. In the final zone, it was indeed noted by the rangers that most of the herbivores looked agitated and scared. Multiple were found with poison bites in their legs. The Troodon were a lot more aggressive than first thought. It was decided to get rid of the herbivores, and they were still in discussion if the Troodon were able to live close to larger sauropods, much like they did with the Dilophosaurus. With the increase in zones and variety of dinosaurs, an increase in headaches and dilemmas was felt as well. And no one had even told them yet about the new hybrids that were being created for the park.